The U.S. is making its move.
It's an honor to speak with you about how the United States is going to dominate crypto and the next generation of financial technologies. And it's not going to be easy, but we're way ahead. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted the first ever White House Digital Asset Summit, bringing together many of the world's top leaders in crypto for a conversation led by our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who's a fantastic and very brilliant guy. That same week, I signed an order creating the brand new strategic Bitcoin reserve and a U.S. digital asset stockpile, which will allow the federal government to maximize the value of its holdings instead of foolishly selling them for a fraction of their long-term value, which is exactly what Biden did. He got a fraction of their value. We're ending the last administration's regulatory war on crypto and Bitcoin, and that includes stopping the lawless Operation Choke Point 2.0. Operation Choke Point went beyond regulation, and I mean far beyond. It was a form of lawfare through government weaponization. Frankly, it was a disgrace. But as of January 20th, 2025, all of that is over. I've also called on Congress to pass landmark legislation creating simple, common-sense rules for stablecoins and market structure. With the right legal framework, institutions large and small will be liberated to invest, innovate, and take part in one of the most exciting technological revolutions in modern history. It's so big, it's, I think, as big as you can get. Pioneers like you will be able to improve our banking and payment system and promote greater privacy, safety, security, and wealth for American consumers and businesses alike. You will unleash an explosion of economic growth, and with the dollar-backed stablecoins, you'll help expand the dominance of the U.S. dollar, and many, many years to come, it'll be at the top, and that's where we want to keep it. We only want to keep it at the top, always. I can already see that the energy and passion of the crypto community is the kind of spirit that built our country, and it is exciting to watch as you invent the future of finance. And right here, it's going to be right here in the USA, the good old USA. Together, we will make America the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the crypto capital of the world. Thank you. Good luck. God bless America.
The White House has signaled that America is officially in the Bitcoin accumulation game, and the rest of the world is scrambling to keep up. Russia already engaging in oil trade with Bitcoin and looking to go even harder. We have big news out of Pakistan, and major financial institutions are jumping in because they know what's about to happen. And yet, somehow, Bitcoin is still under 100K. That should tell you one thing. You ain't seen nothing yet. Today, we're breaking down why a massive Bitcoin supply shock is inevitable, how America just triggered nation-state game theory, and why Bitcoin's price is about to go vertical. Buckle up, because it's time, my friends, to send it. Let's start with what just happened in the U.S., because this is the biggest shift in monetary policy since ever. We showed you a clip yesterday, but Bo Hines, he's doubling down. Trump's advisor just said the quiet part out loud again. The United States is going to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible.
The U.S. has already acquired about 200,000 BTC. That's worth about $17 billion. Strategy CEO Michael Saylor is suggesting that the U.S. acquire up to 25% of the Bitcoin supply by 2035. What would be the target amount for the United States in your view?
Well, I get asked this question a lot, and I think the answer to that, like I said at the summit yesterday, is as much as we can possibly get, so long as it's in budget neutral ways that don't cost the taxpayer a dime. I think we have a lot of high IQ people in the building that are working on this, and folks over at the Treasury office and folks over at Commerce, working with the internal working group that was set up in the first digital assets EO. We'll be able to come up with ways to accumulate more really over the course of the next few years and beyond that. I mean, look, we view Bitcoin as being digital gold. That's why we set up the strategic Bitcoin reserve in the way that we did, right? Bitcoin is a commodity. It's not a security. As our AI and cryptos are, David Sachs likes to say, it has the immaculate conception, meaning that there's no issuer. It has intrinsic stored value that's traditionally accepted, and we feel like it's in the best interest of Americans to hold on to this asset long term and accumulate as much as we can get. That's why we've akin this to digital gold and talked about building the digital Fort Knox for the United States. And you mentioned the Bitcoin that we have possession of. We've actually been in possession of nearly 400,000 Bitcoin. We sold roughly half of that prematurely at about, I think it was close to $370 million is what we sold it for. If we would have held on to that, it would have been worth $17 billion today. I mean, it just goes to show you how important this asset is and what we can do with it to benefit the American people. One thing that I've said repeatedly throughout the media circuit is that I think it's really nice that we have a president that's actually looking to accumulate assets for Americans rather than take it away, unlike the last regime that we had here at the White House. But we feel very confident about our plan. We feel confident about the internal working group that was set up in that first EO. And I think we're going to have tremendous ideas on how to accomplish this.
Think about that. The most powerful government on the planet openly stating its intent to stack Bitcoin. Oh, and guess who's not happy about it? The IMF. Please see here. They just put out a warning telling Trump not to add Bitcoin to America's reserves because it could destabilize the economy. You know what that really means? It means they're terrified. And here's why. If the U.S. embraces Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset, the IMF loses its grip. The petrodollar system starts to crack, and their ability to control monetary policy globally, gone. This is the moment Satoshi designed Bitcoin for. The money printer cartel is losing control, and they know it. So what happens next? The rest of the world has two choices: adopt Bitcoin or get left behind. And right now, we're watching countries scramble to keep up. Russia just announced that its two largest financial exchanges are launching Bitcoin trading. Let me say that again. Russia, a country that has been hesitant on Bitcoin for years, is now all in, mining, settling trade, and now bringing it to the public. And they already know what it is. You can't ban or stop Bitcoin. Even Putin gets it. Now check this out. Pakistan is moving to fully legalize Bitcoin. Their crypto council just came out and said the price is only heading north, and they must follow America or risk getting left behind.
As you were rightly mentioning, Trump's return is the biggest bullish catalyst for crypto in history. Today, he makes history as the first sitting U.S. president to speak at a Bitcoin or crypto conference in New York. And I think, Trump is essentially flipping the script. Trump signed the executive order instructing regulatory bodies to accommodate digital assets, forming a White House crypto advisory team, creating a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. And, we have to understand what that means, is that means that the largest economy in the world is creating it like a valuable national asset, similar to how it stockpiles gold or oil for economic security and strength. So this is why I think the U.S. sets the tone for the world. Trump is making crypto a national priority, and every country, including Pakistan, will have to follow suit or will be at the risk of being left behind.
The reaction so far?
So the reaction has been amazing. We plan on speaking to the UAE to explore, learnings from them in terms of their regulation. We are very closely also working with the Nigerian SEC to see again how what learnings we can adopt from there. We are looking at the models in Turkey. We are looking at Singapore. We are looking at Hong Kong. So we plan to do a lot of MOUs in terms of capacity building, knowledge sharing with all of these countries who are perhaps ahead at the moment.
Are there plans to tax crypto? Because if you're looking at other countries, Nigeria suddenly is doing just that.
See, the government understands that over-taxation kills innovation before it starts. So we've seen this mistake before. India putting a 30% tax on their crypto trades drastically reduced the exchange volume. Our approach will be different. We are advocating for a balanced pro-growth tax structure, one that incentivizes businesses to register, stay compliant, and push sort of more foreign investment into the country and not capital flight.
Bilal, given the optimism and the plans, how big do you think the crypto market in Pakistan would be? Is there a target in the next 2 to 3 years? How big do you think it might grow?
See, with the changing narrative at the top, I think the government finally sees the numbers. 32 billion in remittance annually, $100 billion digital economy potential, and a massive youth-driven workforce which are hungry for Web3 opportunities. Our fintech sector is growing fast, and crypto could supercharge it. So the challenge in Pakistan is not the demand for crypto. The challenge is building the right legal and regulatory framework to unlock its complete economic potential.
Tons of states are moving, but Arizona is pushing forward a bill to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and it just passed out of committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. So I'm not going to review the first part of the speech, which you heard about cryptocurrency and its legal tender species status. I will tell you that there are 17 states now that are establishing cryptocurrency reserves. This is, quite frankly, and I'm glad that Representative Cavero brought up macroeconomic policy. There is an abandonment that is going on right now. It's in slow motion, but there is an abandonment from Federal Reserve currency. It's called a flight to safety. Now, whether it's real or perceived, the fact of the matter is we now are seeing over $1 trillion in capitalization of multiple different cryptocurrencies. Representative Wilmoth made a great point that the market is going to seek what the market wants to have. So what you have now before you is a bill that is permissive, not prescriptive. It's not requiring the Treasurer to do something, but it is opening a path. I believe Representative Diaz might have talked about opening a path. I'm sorry, I couldn't see all the faces, but opening a path to facilitate the market. Quite frankly, when I hear a conversation about risky investments, Federal Reserve currency is about the most risky investment you can have today. So with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Members, with the vote of 6 ayes, 4 nays, 0 present, 0 absent, again, Senate Bill 1373, a do pass recommendation.
Chairman, members, Senator Wendy Rogers, Flagstaff LD7. This is a great bill. And with the current federal government going to a strategic Bitcoin reserve, as was mentioned as a precursor to this, this enables our state government, state treasury, to set aside up to 10% in these various state funds, the retirement personnel system in particular. And with that, I stand for.
Members, with your vote of 6 ayes, 4 nays, 0 present, 0 absent, given Senate Bill 1025 a do pass recommendation.
These are nation-state level plays. We've been saying it for years. Once one domino falls, the rest have no choice but to follow. That moment is now. Let's connect the dots on something else happening behind the scenes. The U.S. Treasury is making some very interesting moves. They're quietly reducing Treasury runoff and slowing quantitative tightening. Translation: more liquidity is coming back into the system. The Fed is now openly discussing gradual QE. That's right, we're heading back to easy money policies. JP Morgan just confirmed that this shift is massively bullish for Bitcoin. Why does this matter? Because once governments start accumulating Bitcoin as a reserve asset, they have a vested interest in seeing its price appreciate. And that means the policy shifts we're seeing right now: cutting QT, weakening the dollar, accumulating Bitcoin. These are all only the beginning. Are no capital gains in play, which is by proxy legal tender? We could be on the verge of a government-fueled Bitcoin supercycle. And if you don't believe me, well, let's hear it from Jan 3's Samson Mao.
So the Omega candle will simply just appear because it'll happen all at once. Like we're talking about earlier, many people will not understand Bitcoin, but they will try to copy their neighbor because they don't want to be left out. Or you can call it FOMO if you want. But this, imagine Berkshire Hathaway, Apple, Microsoft all buying at the same time. while MicroStrategy is trying to spend $42 billion on Bitcoin, while the US is trying to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin over a 4-year period, while public mining companies stop selling Bitcoin they mine because they can also run a MicroStrategy playbook and borrow.
While hodlers don't sell.
While hodlers don't sell.
Boom! That's it right there. The governments that figure this out first will become financial powerhouses for the next century and probably beyond. And the ones that don't, they'll be forced to buy Bitcoin at 10x, 100x, or 1000x the current price. The game theory is kicking in, and there's no turning back. Now let's talk price action. Because if you think Bitcoin at 86,000 is high, lay off the bath salts. It's about to get stupidly bullish, but before we bring it home today, look at our likes.
But you can't do this to me.
You know how much I sacrificed?
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing this video while we take a moment to recognize our sponsors, the masters of Bitcoin sovereignty, the Bitcoin way. Looking to learn how to Bitcoin, how to properly secure your Bitcoin? You might want to head on over to the newly revamped Bitcoin Way website where you can begin your road to Bitcoin sovereignty today. If you're looking to schedule a free 30-minute consultation, go ahead and use that link below in the show notes. Are you absolutely sick of explaining why taxation and money printing are theft to people who just don't care? Well, all your lonely days are gone, my friends, with the Orange Pill app. You can stack friends who stack sats. It's the ultimate hub to connect with fellow Bitcoiners, find meetups, and discover every Bitcoin conference happening near you and across the country. Oh, and just in, the Orange Pill app Lightning Wallet is live. You can send and receive Bitcoin at the speed of lightning, baby. No setup, no limits, just pure sats and freedom. Zapty usernames, Lightning URLs, Lightning Network addresses. You can pay invoices. Bitcoin is better with friends. And now you can zap them instantly, all in one app. What are you waiting for? Download the Orange Pill app today and start meeting your laser-eyed brothers and sisters in the real world. Zap your friends, your favorite Bitcoiners, and Bitcoin companies. And who knows? The connections you make could last a lifetime. Why don't we start here with Bitwise's CIO saying Bitcoin should be at 200,000 today. I think it should be at 690K. But he's predicting the number of corporations buying Bitcoin will triple this year.
There has been so much fundamentally positive news, and it's just been buried sort of in the background. We've caused ourselves to ignore it. There's the strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's the SEC pulling back on essentially every lawsuit. There's progress on stablecoin legislation. There's talk of market structure legislation. There was the White House crypto summit. These are game-changing positive developments that should put Bitcoin trading at $150,000 or $200,000 today. It's been suppressed because in the short term, this overhang of the economic uncertainty is weighing on the markets. I think if that is released, we're at new all-time highs quickly, and we're on our way to where I think we'll be at the end of the year, which is Bitcoin 200,000. So I think there's been this sort of suppression of really good news. If that suppression is removed, I think it's a coiled spring. So in that scenario, I think we do exceptionally well.
Is there anything else that needs to happen to get us to Bitcoin at 200K by the end of the year?
I don't think so. You have these three horsemen of insatiable demand for Bitcoin. You have ETFs, which I continue to think will have strong net flows this year. You have companies. We saw MicroStrategy buying more Bitcoin. I think the number of companies buying Bitcoin is going to triple this year. I think the game theory is on. It's slower than people maybe want in this impatient crypto world, but I think countries around the world are going to be buying Bitcoin. So there is structurally more demand than supply in Bitcoin. I think all we need is to release this sort of economic gloom that's hanging over us. If we do that, I think it's straight to the races.
Here's what people don't realize. Bitcoin's supply is drastically shrinking. The ETFs are gobbling up Bitcoin at record rates. And now we have nation states joining the accumulation race. This is the perfect storm for an Omega candle when demand is this high and supply keeps shrinking. Price action isn't gradual. It's vertical.
My favorite view of the value of Bitcoin,
on a long-term basis is to look at the size of the market it's going after. I think Bitcoin is well on its way to disrupting gold. That's a $20 trillion market. I think it's going to be used for international transaction and cross-border transactions. That's another many trillion-dollar market. And then you can divide that by the number of Bitcoin and you end up with a target amount. At Bitwise, we think it's going to cross $1 million by 2029. I think from a shorter-term perspective, you can just look at supply and demand in the market. Right? The big criticism of Bitcoin is the price is set by supply and demand. But that's also a real benefit when you're in a market like today, where again, we're producing 160,000 Bitcoin a year and ETFs are buying 500,000. Right? Something has to give. And I think what gives is price resistance and ultimately it goes higher.
I think every pension fund should be allocated to Bitcoin. When I was a reporter, I covered just how so many of these pension funds are essentially underwater. It's so sad. But I heard actually, and I'm curious if you could tell me if this is true, that let's say there's a pension fund interested in allocating to Bitcoin. They actually have to go out and meet with a consultant for the consultant to do due diligence on Bitcoin. And that could take months and months. And if the consultant says, no, you shouldn't invest in it, then they just pass on it. Is that true? Are there gatekeepers?
It's mostly true. Yeah. So, I mean, the deep institutional investor market is a market with tier after tier after tier, because those people want their jobs. And if it goes wrong, they want someone to point at and say it was their fault. That said, we've been working with a number of consultants for a significant number of years, and many of them are already allocating. That's why you're starting to see this bubble up through the end. I'll add one more thought from an institutional perspective, because I think people overlook it. Crypto's a $3 trillion market right now. If you have a 0% allocation to crypto, you're effectively short.
Yeah.
Right. When we talk about people allocating 1 or 2% to Bitcoin, that's just to get to neutral. And I think institutions are starting to recognize that. Once you accept it as part of this pie, you need to have at least a little bit, or you're making an active bet against it. And they're not comfortable doing that either. So I think you're going to see this 1-2% thing really take off at the institutional level over the next few years.
Let's go ahead and wrap it up with one last thought. The IMF is freaking out. They're issuing warnings. They're trying to control the narrative. They're begging Trump not to stack Bitcoin. But here's the thing. Their influence fading. The US doesn't need them. Russia doesn't need them. Countries that hold Bitcoin don't need them. And that's why this moment is so important. If the world ditches fiat dependency and adopts Bitcoin as the new global reserve asset, the IMF becomes obsolete. And we're watching this play out in real time. Fast and Furious recap. America is making its move. The world is following, and Bitcoin is still under 100K, but not for long. This is your last warning. We're about to see nation-state level Bitcoin FOMO, and the ones who wait will pay a massive price, like those who forgot to get their tickets to Mining Disrupt 2025. That's right, the biggest Bitcoin mining conference on the planet is coming to Fort Lauderdale, March 25th through the 27th. Get your tickets today and join thousands of Bitcoin mining professionals and enthusiasts from around the globe for an electrifying experience at Mining Disrupt. See the latest cutting-edge hardware, products, and services that are revolutionizing the Bitcoin mining industry. For over half a decade, Mining Disrupt has been the premier conference and expo exclusively dedicated to the Bitcoin mining industry. Be part of the future and join the movement that's shaping the world of Bitcoin mining. Don't miss out. Head over to miningdisrupt.com and get your tickets today. Use promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off. Hey, and I'm going to be there with Nico and Afi, the Simply Bitcoin news desk. We'll be there, and we hope to see you there. If you haven't started stacking yet, what are you waiting for? The window is closing. Just hope they don't slam it shut. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing this with someone who still doesn't get it. And don't forget to set those notifications for the best in Bitcoin delivered to you daily. Nico and Dante have some fire coming your way, so stay tuned, and I'll catch you all next time. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.